Most workers in the United States know their own salary. Very few know where that salary ranks relative to everyone else in their age group. That gap between knowing your number and understanding what it actually means is where most career and financial decisions get made without adequate information. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks earnings by age group across the full workforce every quarter. When you layer savings data from the Federal Reserve on top of that, a specific picture forms. The picture shows how most workers compare to the benchmarks and what the gap between current position and those benchmarks costs over time. This video runs those numbers. 3 age decades shape the trajectory of most working careers in a predictable pattern. The 30s are when earnings trajectories first separate, driven by credential, industry, and early career positioning. The 40s are when those separations compound into lasting income differences. The 50s are when the full financial consequence of decisions made in prior decades becomes visible in retirement savings data. The earnings data in this analysis comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Current Population Survey using 2023 annual averages. The savings benchmarks reference Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finance's data for actual savings levels, combined with Fidelity Research for widely cited retirement targets by age. 2 earnings figures anchor each decade. The first is the national median annual earnings for full-time workers in that age bracket. That midpoint means exactly this. Half of all full-time workers in the group earn above it, and half earn below it. The second figure is where the upper quarter of earners in that same bracket begins. This analysis tracks college-educated workers separately from the general workforce. The earnings premium for a 4-year degree behaves differently at each stage of a career, and understanding both tracks gives a more complete picture of where any individual salary stands. One note before the data: national median figures include workers across all industries, all geographies, and all occupations. A salary that ranks in the top quarter in one region may sit below the median in another. The national numbers are reference points, not verdicts. This section covers full-time workers in their late 20s and early 30s. The national median annual earnings for this age group is approximately $55,000. That is the midpoint for full-time workers across all industries and geographies in this bracket. Workers in the upper quarter of this group earn roughly $80,000. These are workers who have spent several years in professional, technical, or skilled trade roles, or who have moved into first-level management. Top earners in this bracket approach $150,000 or higher. College graduates in this age group earn a median closer to $78,000. That figure covers all degree holders across all fields. In high-demand fields such as software engineering, finance, and engineering disciplines, the median for degree holders regularly exceeds $100,000 at this stage. The college earnings premium is real. It does not, however, account for debt service. The average monthly student loan payment for an actively repaying borrower runs approximately $400. That nearly cancels $5,000 of annual income advantage for the average borrower. Workers without a college degree who entered skilled trades, pursued technical certifications, or joined employers with structured advancement tracks often exceed the median by their early 30s. The path matters more than the credential at this career stage. Industry and geography shape early earnings significantly. Technology workers in major metro areas regularly reach 6 figures by their late 20s. Healthcare and finance roles in the same markets pay in comparable ranges. Service and retail workers at the same age earn substantially less, regardless of effort or hours worked. The commonly cited savings benchmark for this stage calls for 1 full year of income saved. For the median earner in this bracket, that target is approximately $55,000. Federal Reserve data shows the actual median retirement account balance for this age group is about $18,000, well below the benchmark. Housing explains most of that shortfall. In major metropolitan areas, housing costs now consume roughly half of take-home pay for a median wage worker. That compression leaves very little margin for savings even when spending behavior is disciplined. The leverage point at this stage is time. Dollars invested in the early career have 3 decades or more to compound. The same dollar invested in the mid-40s has roughly half that runway. The early career is the highest leverage window in a working life for building long-term wealth. The 40s are the decade when earnings trajectories that diverge in the 30s become fixed positions for most workers. The distance between the median and the upper quarter grows faster in this decade than at any other point in a working career. This section covers full-time workers in their late 30s and early 40s. The national median annual earnings for this age group is approximately $65,000. The gain over the early career median is real but modest in percentage terms. Workers in the upper quarter of this group earn approximately $105,000. These workers typically hold senior professional positions, experienced skilled trade roles in high-demand markets, or management positions with direct personnel and budget responsibility. Top earners in this bracket exceed $200,000. College-educated workers at this stage earn a median of approximately $98,000. That is a gain of roughly 25% over the early career college graduate figure. Strategic employer movement accounts for much of that gain. Research consistently shows that workers who changed employers at least once during their 30s earn more by their mid-40s than those who stayed in a single organization throughout the decade. Internal salary increases are constrained by compensation bands and budget cycles. External offers reset the band. Workers who understand this dynamic and act on it once or twice in their 30s often permanently shift their earnings trajectory upward. The retirement savings benchmark at this stage calls for 3 years of annual salary saved. For the median earner here, that benchmark total reaches approximately $195,000. Federal Reserve data places the actual median retirement savings for this age group at roughly $45,000. The gap between benchmark and reality exceeds $150,000. Two structural factors explain most of that shortfall. Early career contributions were smaller because early career salaries were lower, and consumer spending peaks for most households in the late 30s, as childcare, housing upgrades, and vehicle expenses accumulate simultaneously. A worker who is behind the savings benchmark at this stage still has time to close part of the gap. But the compounding math is no longer as forgiving as it was at 30. Each year of delay costs more in this decade than it did in the prior one. The 50s represent the final stretch of peak earning for most workers. Median earnings plateau in this decade, with the level of that plateau determined largely by decisions made in the two prior decades. This section covers full-time workers in their mid-40s and early 50s. The national median annual earnings for this age group is approximately $67,000. The gain over the 40-year-old median is small. Peak earnings for most workers arrive in the late 40s or early 50s, and that plateau typically holds through the early 60s. Workers in the upper quarter at this stage earn approximately $115,000. Top earners in this bracket exceed $230,000. College-educated workers at this stage earn a median of approximately $105,000. The premium over the full workforce median has now widened to over 50%. Earlier in the career, that premium sat closer to 40%. The gap between degree holders and the broader workforce compounds over time. The retirement savings benchmark for this decade calls for 6 years of annual salary saved. For the median earner here, the benchmark target is approximately $400,000. Federal Reserve data shows the actual median retirement savings for this age group is about $115,000. The gap is at its widest in this decade. A worker who meets the benchmark can withdraw roughly $27,000 annually using the standard withdrawal rule. That covers approximately 40% of the median pre-retirement salary at this income level. Social Security fills most of the remaining gap for the typical median earner. It is not a supplement at this income level. For most people, it is the primary income source in retirement. Federal tax rules offer a catch-up contribution allowance beginning at age 50. Workers in this bracket can contribute an additional $7,500 per year to a workplace retirement plan beyond the standard annual limit. That provision exists specifically because most workers arrive at this stage behind their savings targets. A worker in their 50s who begins maximizing contributions, including catch-up allowances, can still add meaningful value to their portfolio over the following 15 years. Starting late is not ideal, but the compounding effect of any positive change at this stage remains significant. 3 patterns emerge consistently from this data, each applying at every income level across the workforce. The first pattern: Salary growth in the early career is slower than most workers expect. But the time value of early savings makes that period the most important of the working life. An income increase early in the career has more impact on long-term wealth than the same increase later, because the additional savings compound over more years. The second pattern: the workers who reach the upper quarter by their 40s are not uniformly more talented or better educated than those at the median. They are more likely to have changed employers at strategic moments, developed skills with genuine scarcity value, or moved into roles with direct accountability for revenue or operations. These are choices that are available to most workers. The third pattern: savings rates matter more than salary levels in determining long-term financial position. A worker saving 15% of income consistently builds more long-term wealth than someone earning significantly more but saving a fraction of that rate. The math is not subtle. These benchmarks describe the actual distribution of the American workforce, as measured by federal agencies. They do not prescribe outcomes for individuals. Geography, family structure, health, and career field all create different constraints and different possibilities. But the data is accurate. Most people do not have it. Knowing where your salary ranks and where your savings stand gives you the inputs to make different choices. Most workers who are behind the benchmarks made their decisions without accurate reference points. This is one of those reference points. If this gave you a clearer picture of where your earnings stand, subscribe to this channel. We publish one video every week examining money, careers, and the math behind decisions that most people never calculate carefully. Sources are listed in the description.